All right, you can pause the video if you want and read the context, but basically we have two different bags of jelly beans, a child bag and an adult bag. We took a sample of 50 jelly beans from the child and found that it was 30% red, or I'm sorry, the company claims it is 30% red. And then we've got 15% red in the adult mix. And we took a sample of 100 jelly beans. What we're looking for here is find the standard deviation of the sampling distribution. And that sampling distribution is the distribution of the differences between the proportion of red in the child and the proportion of red in the adult. So what we want to find is this, the standard deviation of that sampling distribution. First thing we got to do, we got to make sure that we have that our sample is not too big. And what I mean by that is the sample size for the children has to be less than 10% of all, and the sample size for the adult has to be less than 10% in order to build this distribution and to find that standard deviation. So our sample size for the children is 50. We're assuming that that's less than 10% of all the jelly beans, and same thing here. So this is 50. This is 100, assuming that this is true. And if that's true, we can go ahead and find this standard deviation of the sampling distribution. So there's the symbol. It's a mouthful to say, but essentially what it is this. It is the square root of, first thing we're going to deal with over here is the proportion of child times 1 minus the proportion of the child, of red in the child, and, or other words, we call that Q, so you can write that either way, divided by however many there are in the children, in the sample for the children. And we're going to add that to the proportion for the adult times 1 minus the proportion of the adult, or Q sub A, over however many there were in the adult sample. So simplify, and you end up with the square root of 0.3 times 0.7 over 50. And we're going to add that to 0.15 times 0.85 over 100. Simplify, or plug that into your calculator, and you get 0.0740 is our standard deviation. One last quick note, the reason that this is standard deviation and not standard error is because we're using the population proportion. So if you look back up into the context, they say that the company claims that the child mix has 30% red jelly beans and adult mix has 15, and we assume that their claims are true. So we take that as a true population proportion. Therefore, we have in this example a standard deviation and not a standard error.